Welcome to Dunamis Woman and Ram today. I am here we are all unfamiliar faces that you probably have never seen in a long time. But I am Ariel and I'm here with Erica and Allison. And you are probably wondering, what are we going to bring to you today? But we are here to talk to you about mother-daughter talk. So if you are a mother out there, if you are a daughter, I encourage you to grab your daughter, grab your mom if you're a daughter watching the show, because we have some good insight for you. And really, we're just going to be really giving you real talk. I mean, no advice, no, things that what you should be doing as mother-daughters, just telling you about how to build a healthy mother-daughter relationship. And that goes through a lot of struggles. Getting a healthy mother-daughter relationship is not easy at all. No. But I've always hear, mothers and especially daughters saying, I can't stand my mother, or I hate my mother. Literally, they cannot stand to look at them. And we know, with the mother-daughter conference coming up, Mirror, Mirror, we name that for a reason, because literally it's like looking in the mirror at yourself, whether you're a mother or your daughter. And you look like your mama, you look like our mama, and I definitely look like our mama D. So we always look at ourselves. So what do you see in your mom? Like when you see her, what about yourself do you see in her that you can't stand?
Well, perfect example. I see the feistiness. I see like the attitude. I see where I get mood swings from, and like I look at her sometimes and I'm like, like why are you acting like this? Then I'm like, I do the same thing, So it's just that. But then I see the good qualities. I see the wisdom. I see the intelligence. I see the culture. I see just the friendliness, just to be popular. I used to always be like, my mom, she could get 105 likes on Facebook from saying hi, and I can't. And I'm just like, but, it's so many people around that's like, oh my God, and it's just because of my mother that I became popular. So I see that, the connection that we have with people, just even being in the workforce, professionalism. I'm all about professionalism and customer service, but it came from my mother. So that's just one of the perks that I see. But then I also see, qualities, just and how I handle relationships with men, how I handle, when something's making me mad, or even expressing myself. Like I am literally a mirror of my mother, and it took me to get 25 to see it, but it's just like it's a gift, and then it's just sometimes you're like, oh, I need to work on that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like this forever, and it's not saying, anything towards her. You just see those things that, you don't want to go into the next generation.
And instead of saying, I'm going to do it better, it's just like you said, going to the next generation, knowing that, I always tell my girls the fact that it's a generational curse. Yeah. And, those things are what goes on in generation, and that's in you. And so it's not saying I'm going to be better, but it's saying, okay, well, I'm going to be the trailblazer to, stop the curse of this generation and what's going on. And you made a huge point when you said, like, being you now 25, because oftentimes, we think that daughters need their mothers when they're 5 and 6 or 7. No. And that's the time from what we're learning that they really need their father, if anything, that their father instills so much wisdom in his mind, in their mind. So as they get older, they think like their father. But at 24 and 25, that's when you need your mother.
It's funny that you said that, because when I was younger, I was never with my mother. I have family members to this day that's like, oh, I didn't even know, where you were, because every family event, every weekend, I was with my dad. It wasn't, I'm going to be with my mom, I'm going to be under my mama. No, I wanted to be with my dad every weekend, and then once in my teenage years, I actually wanted to move with my dad, and now I'm just seeing like, I don't need my daddy right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, my daddy can't really tell me too much about life and growing up and being a woman, and now I'm realizing that I need my mother a whole lot more than what I thought. I thought I was going to be 25. I don't need her. I'm grown, I get it now, and I call my mother every day and ask her something like, I don't know how to do this. I feel this type of way. I need this like every single day. I need her for something.
Well, at least you call her every day.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you see in mommy?
Oh my goodness. One, I see her feistiness, how I'm feisty. I see how she's procrastination and I'm procrastinated a lot. I see how she, she's very bullheaded. What she knows is what she knows, and can nobody take that away from her. And I'm like that. Even when it comes to her children, how she was with us, don't ever talk to my kids and stuff like that. And I see how I am like that with my daughter. So now, ever since I have my daughter, I see myself more as her. Also, just how she's, like how she'd be like, I'm on my way, be there in 10 minutes, knowing she's an hour away. I do the same thing. So, I mean, I see a lot, but it goes back with Erica. Like, I see positives. I see the maturity. And like she said, how you're the older version of her and I'm the younger version of her. But I just see how, like, we're growing up to be together, to be just like her. You get what I'm saying? So,
and it's funny because you always say you don't want to be just like your mother, but even you see those things in there, but it's aspects of your mother that kind of help you understand more of who you are, and not just the good things, but, as young women, you can go through rejection issues when it comes to men, fall in love, lust, how do you want to have sex so much and things like that you're thinking about. I mean, all those different traits that you have, come from, it may be within your mother. I'm not saying it just definitely comes from your mother, because it could be from your father, but, you see some young girls who are very needy and they want attention. All of those are traits in you that your mother could help you deal with if she acknowledged it herself. And that's a huge thing, is because mothers oftentimes don't want to acknowledge the inner parts of who they are, not just, their personality, but really what they struggle with, how did they meet their daddy, all those different things, what are they attracted to. They like to dismiss that and say, I'm the mother, and kind of forget who the woman is. And at the same time, we're all growing up and we're becoming women, and you're a mother, but we're not mothers. So we're still struggling on the woman, and now you're struggling on developing the woman and the mother. And so those are things that mothers have to give that insight, too. But the question I was going to ask is, what about women who necessarily don't know their mother? They are in this world trying to figure out who they are, and they have no clue who their natural mother is. Let's say they were adopted, kind of, how would you kind of help them discover who they are? They're kind of just like, this is just me, but how could they even start that process of feeling, who am I as a woman?
Well, I believe that, like, especially if you're seeking to find who you are, that means you're seeking, to a higher realm. That means you are seeking out God. That means you are praying about it. I don't think that it's any woman that's out here just like, I'm going to find myself by doing this and this and this and this. I think that every woman that really wants to be a woman will pray. And if you do pray and, you ask God, like, who am I? Help me find who I am. He'll send you somebody. God always sends things through people, so he'll always send you a person, or he'll even allow, a person who's been adopted or doesn't really know their mother or doesn't have a good relationship with their mother to actually have that moment with their birth mother, but then still have that, spiritual person that can pour into them, that can teach them, the things that they need to know to be, successful and to figure out who they are.
So why do you think that, I'm going to ask you guys this question about why do you think that daughters have so much hatred and resentment, for their mother, whether they know their mother or they don't know their mother? Because I feel like that hatred and resentment is really a strategy to really pull us apart, and people don't realize that they just think, okay, well, I'm just growing development and I just hate my mother, but it's really a devil's strategy to really tear apart the bond of a mother and daughter together. And we're going to get into that when we come back from this break, because I think that that's a core thing that happens from all ages, whether you're 5 all the way up to 30, or either higher than that. It's so much resentment that you go through in those stages of where you really don't like who you see in the mirror. And oftentimes that's not just your mother, that's yourself, So we are going to come back and talk about that as we go to this break. And when we come back, we're really going to dig deep into the fact of hatred and resentment and how we even hated our own mothers, and then hating ourselves, of saying, I wish I could have been another part of a family, or I wish I could have had another mother. So we'll be right back, and we're going to jump right into that topic. So stay with us. And if you are still a mother and daughter, grab your mother and grab your daughter and catch us back on the second half of the show. Are you a parent who feels like your daughter's just growing up way too fast and learning about the world so quickly? Are you a student who needs to understand, what am I going to do with my life? What school am I going to go to? What is my life purpose? Or are you a girl who just wants to understand boys and dealing with parents and school life drama? Well, I'm here to tell you that I have an amazing organization called Dunamis Woman Empowerment for girls who are 13 through 17 who want to understand who they are, to have real talk about real life issues. And so you will be experiencing a great, awesome workshop to help enlighten you, to help encourage you, but also challenge you to think about your surroundings, think about who you want to be, think about what you want in your life, preventing you from being a victim to your surroundings. So I encourage you to join me and go to our website, www.dunamis-woman.com, to learn more about me and learn more about the workshop and the things that we have to offer for you to really become the woman that you want to become. And if you believe that you are a woman of power, please don't forget to stop at our shop and get a shirt just like this, a Dunamis woman. You are a Dunamis woman. You're a woman of power, a woman of purpose, and a woman of passion for who God has created you to be. So wear the apparel and join the force as a Dunamis woman. So we are back, and as we, left for that short break and that short commercial, we were talking about how do young women, or daughters develop hatred and resentment for their mother. Mm-hmm. And I know, there was a lot of things growing up that made me want to literally, and hate is a strong word, but really resent, my mother, whether it's the guy that she dated, I would see the devil use tactics on her even being a pastor, making you hate them even more. And now you have that show, Preacher's Kids and all stuff that's going out. And just her traits, like the fact that she was so feisty and so angry. And it was just like, there was things like that that made me just really want to hate her. Even the resentment of not doing what I desired because of my career and not moving where I wanted her to move, all those different things. So what kind of really at that moment made you dislike your mother?
Well, it was a lot of things. My mom had me when she was younger. She was like 18, 19, so I kind of grew up with my mother. I saw the process before my brother came into the world. And then once he came into the world, that's when she started to, get her spiritual journey. And so, I'm looking at what I knew before and then the spiritual journey. And then, she was in ministry. So she was like a deacon and, we was at church all day, every Sunday, it was just those type of things. And I was looking like, this is okay. But it was like a show to me, so I resented her for that because I was just like, you're dragging me into this show that you putting on, or just even like relationships with guys or I just think that I thought my mom was supposed to be perfect. Like in my eyes, she is perfect. In my eyes, she's my best friend. But then there was a lot of stuff that I didn't understand. She was going through a lot, even though she had kids, and I was looking at her like, you're supposed to be perfect. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. You're supposed to be my parent. I need you. But she needed somebody as well, and I couldn't understand that until I got to this age and to realize like, okay, she was doing this by herself, and I'm realizing as a woman, it's a whole lot you need, that you have to seek for, but then it's even harder to do that with 2 kids by yourself, and I didn't look at it that way. I was just, selfishly like, okay, I need this. Yeah. I need this. I want this. I'm looking at this. Why can't I get this way? Yeah. I have to do everything for myself. I really resented my mom a lot.
And you grew up a lot. Like, you matured very fast, as a young girl. You were like an adult. And, even my mom says now, it's like your mom was like a kid and you were the adult, because you had to grow up a lot based on some of the things. And, naturally, I remember I was in an interview and someone was telling me, I think his name was Gary Chapman from the 5 Love Languages, that a child naturally feels like a parent's supposed to love me, regardless. That's just natural. Like, a parent is supposed to love me, whether I've been through rape, whether I've been through abuse, whether my mother adopted me, a parent is supposed to love me. Yeah. And I think that's the feeling that naturally daughters get, but they fail to realize it's the difference between the woman and the mother. Exactly. And you mentioned that, about how, your mom as a woman needed things. And she did love you, but maybe she couldn't love you the way that
it wasn't
you want
shown
to be loved.
The way I wanted it to be shown, so I didn't think that it was there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did grow up very fast. My mom worked a lot to take care of me and my brother, so the responsibility of my brother was with me. So it was a time where I felt like, okay, this is not my kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Why can't I just have a regular teenage life? Why can't I just be an adolescent? I felt like that for a lot of my life, but then it wasn't like I was upset with my mother. I knew that, I was doing this for a reason. I had no problem helping her. But at the same time, it was still a lot of resentment because it's just like, I don't have a life. I just have this life of, helping my mom or helping my brother or, seeing us in this situation and wanting better for us. And I couldn't help her. Like I was young. I couldn't get up and get a job. And when I did get a job, I just cared about myself. I'm like, okay, I have a job now. I'm going to make sure I got these clothes. I'm going to make sure I got this. I'm going to make sure I look good all the time, because I always had stuff, but I didn't have the stuff that I wanted.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, I was like, okay, I'm going to take the burden off of her and I'm going to just work. So then that made me be even more resentful because I'm like, now I take care of myself. I don't need anybody.
Becoming that like self-independent woman that, makes you resentful. And a lot of single moms do that. Well, I got this, I got that. And, you're a single mom. So even talk about that, aspect of, growing and becoming independent. And then on top of that, what made you hate your mother and what possibly your daughter could make, hate you in that aspect of growing up.
Like, with me having a daughter, I really look forward to the time we spend together. It's not so much hatred, but my resentment that I had with my mother was more so the lack of time she had with us. The lack of time to spend with us, the sit down, the bedroom talks, to lay in the bed up under her arms. That nurturing, how she was always working. I know we joked around, it was like, we're going to throw away that pager. If it's not because of the pager or her cell phone, we're going to throw it away. And, she lacked the time to really spend with us. And so now, with me having my daughter, it's more so, she lays with me and, right now we're in a situation where she sleeps with me, but right now I really cherish that. So it's like she lays with me, she lays up under me, and while she's laying there with me, I talk to her. And I nurture her and I ask her questions. How do you feel? What's going on? When do you feel this? Or how's it when you're going to school? Because I want her to remember the little things. Because eventually I am going to get married. And eventually she is going to have siblings. But I want that quality time with me and her so she can remember that. And it's not going to go away because I'm going to still have that regardless if I'm married. Tell my husband, go lay on the couch somewhere. Because me and her still need that one-on-one time. So that was my main resentment with her. But when it comes to, I even asked her, okay, now I have this daughter. Now I'm like, well, that's why she couldn't spend time with me because she's working her butt off to provide. And I see some things differently. I see how she worked to take care of us. I see, why she did what she did to take care of us. I see the late nights she had out. Because she still needs to be tended to as a woman. And not only as a mother where we were being selfish to like, well, you're my mother, so you need to be with us. And I didn't see her as a woman. But during that midst, I'm like, okay, this is what I'll do with Genesis. I will talk to her and be like, okay, mommy's going out or mommy do this. And when she get older, I will explain to her. So and even the letter I wrote to her was like, okay, Ma, now can you teach me how to be a woman? Not only can you teach me how to be a woman, but can you teach me how to be a mother in the process? And so that's where now that I have Genesis, I'm like, okay, well, we're going to sit here and grow together. And my main thing that I do with her is just really talk to her. I try to include her into everything. Even I was like, I want to include her in my wedding. I want to include her, when I get pregnant, and her
you had no choice but to include her.
I mean, I know, but like, how some people, like, I don't know if it was for Erica, like, your mama just pop up pregnant, like, okay, here it is, But for her, to rub my stomach and here go your little brother, here go your little sister, and when the baby come out, her be in a room with me, and stuff like that.
I mean, that makes sense, but oftentimes, there are times where people, young girls or daughters get married and their mother just isn't even there, in the midst, or their mother may get married and, their daughter isn't there because they don't support it or things like that.
Yeah.
And, it's really, like you said, going through that process together. And I think that, you really have to sit back and say, okay, well, I have the role of a daughter, I have the role as a mother, but who am I developing as a woman? No matter how old I am, what is the process that I'm going through? And then how can you help love me through that process? And I think a lot of times we could be selfish instead of thinking, okay, how does this person want to be loved? And then how do I need to be loved? And how can we mesh that together?
You know what? I think that it's a big issue because most women don't know how to say, I need this. Most women don't know how to say, I need this love. I need this affection. These days growing up, like I've been taught my whole life, you be independent. You don't need anybody, especially a man. You know, you do this by yourself. You don't ask for help. You just pick up and go. You know, that's been my life. You know, I figure out a strategy. I try to do it by myself. And you get to a point where you're like, you can't do that. It's impossible to do something by yourself all the time. And I think that mothers and daughters, you know, clash because they have that same mentality. You know, like daughters have been taught by their mothers, you know, to be this independent person, and they can't express to their own mothers that, look, I need your help. You know, I need this love. And, you know, the most common cliche out here now is that you have to teach somebody to love you.
And that's huge, you know, teaching someone how to love you, and you can't teach someone if you don't know how to love yourself.
Exactly.
So we're going to come right back and piggyback off of that. So stay tuned with us. You know, mentioned and you left off with the point of, you know, teaching someone how to love you. And the reality is that if you don't know how to love yourself, you can't teach someone how to love you. And that's really, really huge because a lot of times, because of our rejection and not being loved for our mother, it leads us, we don't say anything. We say, okay, well, we're independent, we could do that, but it leads us into a man who's supposed to just figure out who we are and say, okay, love me. And then you can't even express or say, okay, this is how I want to be loved. And running into the arms of a man just to find that compassion, find that love is not the best answer either.
That's what I tell, like, the girl, so this is one girl I was in class with, and she was like, you know, me and my boyfriend were going to live together. And I told her, I was like, sweetheart, you are 19 years old. I said, I need you to figure out what type of coffee you like. And she was like, huh? I said, you need to figure out you. You can't expect this guy, this boy, this man to love you, and you don't love yourself. And I told her, I recommend you do this before you have kids. Because when you have a child, you're trying to learn yourself and you're trying to learn the baby. So now, you know, go out, get a sip of coffee. Do you like this extra cream? Do you like this extra sugar? What type of candy do you like? Do you like the red Skittle or do you like the yellow Skittle? It's just the little things that really, really make you figure out, what do you like? What do you want? How do you want it? So when this man come around, you could be like, no, you're not going to talk to me like this. Or no, you're not going to treat me like this. Because it's a way you could be submissive, but you can be independent also.
And that's the whole goal of us even having this conversation, is the fact that, you know, you don't want your daughter to run into the arms of a man because of her rejection or things in that aspect. And then same thing, you don't want your mother to just run into the arms of someone else because of the fact that they, you know, don't feel love from their children. So it's a balance, and it's a lot of work that needs to definitely be done. And the process definitely is not easy, but at the same time, you know, everyone's trying to find that love. And even in today's society now, you know, you're not even trying to find that love through a man. You may be going to a woman to try to find that love, you know, someone to, you know, mother you, or someone to feel your heart and share that. So growing up and developing that process of figuring out who you are is to really look in the mirror and say, this is who I am. You know, this is who created me. This is the person who knows me. This is the mom who knew me, you know, in the womb before I was even created. And no, I really just, when daughters say that my mother, you know, hates me or that I can't stand my mother, I don't think there's no mother who really births a child and just doesn't think any slight vision for their child or even hope for that child, whether they give you up, whether they, you know, give you up for adoption, whether they give you to the daddy, whether they leave you in a box, it does not matter. As a woman, they're struggling with the issues that they have, but they had some type of hope for you, you know, and even if it wasn't as much hope as you wanted, you were here for a reason. And every daughter out there, you know, I really want to encourage you to know that you were birthed for a reason. You know, we know it takes a miracle for a woman to even have a child.
Yeah. And I mean, even speaking on the adoption, if you feel like you've been abandoned or, you know, you feel like you are just out there alone, you're not. You know, think of it like this. Your mother gave you away because your mother saw something in you that she could not give you. And she felt like that person that she gave you away to can give you more of a value and more of substance than what you had. So if you're feeling that way today, if you feel abandoned, rejected, don't think of it like that. Think of it in a positive aspect. And if you need answers from your mother, then go seek it.
So I just want to thank you guys for even, you know, being on the show. It's so much that we could really talk to about mother-daughter. So you guys are just going to have to come to the conference to get the whole, you know, gist of everything and get all the nitty-gritty, because there is a lot to talk about. But the main thing is the fact that, you know, if you are in the home with your mother or your daughter, you need her. You need her, and don't rush and run away and try to get married and go off and live on your own and be independent. That is a person that you are going to need till death do you part, even when you get a husband, you know. That is something that you're always going to need. You're going to need guidance and love and development. So, you know, I encourage you guys to just really start open and communicating, and just, even if it's difficult, you may not know how, but just open up your mouth and you'll see what may start to happen through that communication and through that conversation. And it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel weird. It's not going to be comfortable. But at the end of the day, I think you're really going to appreciate it and you're really going to value it. So I just thank you for taking the time to tune in. Thank you guys for being here, Erica and Allison. You guys are amazing. And just stay tuned and go visit our website at www.dunamis-woman.com to get up.